battle in a best-of-1. Border on deck. Map ban beginning. Sides, Soniqs will start on defense before swapping on over. Border, like a lot of other maps, skews towards the defenders, but it's a fragging map. Attackers still have very good opportunities. You typically only see 3 of the 4 bomb sites on Border played. Of course, that passport storage bomb site shows up, or the customs storage bomb site doesn't show up all that much. It will be played from time to time, but traditionally is a poor win rate for the defenders.
We got 3 operator bans in so far, and this is the most interesting one. Both Virtus.Pro and Soniqs permaban a zombie. So Virtus.Pro will get to take it out. Soniqs will have to flex their ban somewhere, and it will be to Legion. Interestingly enough, this is something that a lot of teams have been running, most specifically Europe. Team Secret, inside of Europe, have been banning a lot of Legion because they want to be able to run a lot of shields. Virtus.Pro banning out the Monty is no surprise whatsoever. VP, I'm going to tell you right now, will be banning Monty or Blitz in every single map that they play throughout this tournament. I would be shocked if they don't. They have been throughout the latter half of Stage 2. Shields are so strong right now, and especially against one of the best shield teams in the world, you're going to be banning out that Montaigne. Soniqs take the Grim instead of the Dokkaebi, which is what I was expecting, which is a little bit interesting. Not a huge shift, but certainly will adjust the plans of Virtus.Pro a little bit in this first half. And then, of course, Valkyrie a safe, Grim a safe pick to ban out. Leaves Valkyrie up, which Ambi will be bringing for the very first round. This is going to be a matchup of play styles. Soniqs play a lot of shield play. We're going to see it a ton. They love this style of meta. Virtus.Pro, not quite the same. They're going to have to find other ways to be successful on attack. It's kind of nice that we're here on Border, because this is a map where, you know, it comes down to opening gunfights all the time. There's not a ton of util play that you need to run. Oftentimes, it is just about who hits their shots on Border. This is probably the most simple map when it comes down to what's the deciding factor. Oftentimes, the defense are going to get into gunfights early, and it really just comes down to, do you win them or do you lose them? So for VP, if they're warm today, if they're hot, this could still go their way.
These teams will settle in now for what will be a relatively short matchup. Today will go long solely because we have 16 matches to get through. Every single match played today is a best-of-1. There's roughly about a 20-minute break between these maps while teams get set up. Because once you finish your game, you got to go. Other teams got to get settled in, start up, do a brief warm-up. We have to go through the pre-production and the pre-match stuff. I believe the technical term is the rigmarole.
Yeah, that's correct.
Right now, it's top east is the main focus for VP. You can see at least one player from Soniqs will have their eyes turned in that direction, likely from inside of office, as they've created a rotate from 90, and this corridor that gets assembled from break room all the way over towards security and top east. Well documented for the defenders.
Canadian Ambi out on the roam right now. This roaming smoke on East Stairs is something North American teams have been bringing a lot of. Ambi hunting for a gunfight. They've also got, I believe that's Surf up towards top east as well to help the teams. Not Surf, actually. I believe it's Rexon then. Trying to help out the squad, make some noise, make some damage. Rexon is in security himself. So I was wrong twice. It was Grixer I was looking at. Okay. Sometimes the outlines are deceiving. Ambi inside a break room as well. I mean, they've really done a good job of stalling time whatsoever. They're trying to bait for kills, but Soniqs at the moment are giving them absolutely nothing, which is what you've got to be doing. They're stalling out the clock. They're making VP go slow. This has often been a slow team, but now with the line and the flashes, they'll walk on in.
Ambi's holding his own at the moment. Pasha with the entry kill. Joystick traded out by Rexon, so nothing really gained from VP, but they continue to assert themselves over towards security, and Pasha finds a second on to Grixer, who threw that rotate in the wall, reveals himself a little bit too much. Joystick the only casualty for VP, though Shepard has taken quite a bit of damage. Down goes Surf and Canadian in a 1-2 punch from Virtus.Pro, and the Russians will take round number 1.
It may have taken 2 minutes, but when they did eventually clear through the map, they did it flawlessly. That is the VP way. And of course, it's Pasha starting us off with a little 3K here on Border. Not a surprise. Throughout all of Stage 2, Pasha was the only player that was positive. Despite the fact that they managed to make top 3 inside of Europe, they did have a rough start to their season. Virtus.Pro started in quite a deficit. They had to claw their way back into playoffs. They barely made it, and then they won their third place game to get here as well. Most of that was off of Pasha. He went plus 32 in stage 2 overall. His next closest teammates were both Dan and Always, both of whom went -1 on the stage. So expect to see a lot of play out of Pasha. He has been their main fragger. He's the guy who's going to get the most active on this team. That is not surprising. But everybody on the side of VP did their job in that round. You saw the cutoffs. It took them a lot of time to set up that push, but they still had players outside on the archives window. They had players all over security, all over break room. They left east stairs. I think a lot of that time that they were wasting was they were trying to figure out how to get Canadian out of east. They were really working on that for a while, and they decided, you know what? Let's just go break room instead. They walk in, they flash, they nade, they kill Ambi eventually, and from there, everything just fell like dominoes. So perfectly done by Virtus.Pro. Those are the clean executes that we expect from this team. The question from Soniqs is how do you react? I don't think you need an immediate adjustment. I think it's fine the way that they're playing so far. But they've got to be winning more of these opening gunfights. Sometimes that is really all that Border does come down to.
It's a fragging map, right?
Yep.
There are only a couple of them still in the map pool where you see teams just go blow to blow. And a lot of times it seems like the structure and the utility brought from attackers is often secondary. Coastline was another map that felt very similarly back in the day. Consulate as well, the old Consulate, started to get into that same kind of territory. I mean, I remember when teams decided to drop Hard Breach from Coastline entirely, and it felt so strange because it was the only map where you didn't need to bring it. Suddenly teams stopped bringing Hard Breach on Consulate. Yep. Some teams don't bring Hard Breach on Border. It happens. Not the case for Virtus.Pro, as Shepard does like the Hibana an awful lot on attack, whether it be because of the Hard Breach or because the Type 89 bearing provide a good one-two punch in terms of gunplay. VP have said before that they like to play a structure. Sometimes they like to play ops based on their guns. Old habits do die hard, and while there have been changes to VP, maybe that one thing has remained constant.
This mirror window's been popular for Soniqs. They've run it a couple of times. It's very good. You can see all the angles that Rexon has access to. The mirror window stays strong for now. There are X-Kairos hunting for it, as well as potentially Twitch drones, but nothing taking it out just yet. Office will be the focus of Pasha as he walks on in. There's nobody in here directly to challenge, although one is inside a fountain. That will be Ambi to take the first gunfight if that is in play. Bomb site's still downstairs. Don't forget that. There is a lot of map to clear out. Ambi and Canadian, again, working together on the roam. Going to be important to get these kills. Grixer dies. That's for the second round in a row, an opening pick by VP. Though admittedly, as we said, the previous round, it was traded back swiftly. That was that mirror that you talked about. The gadgets will persist. The operator itself off of the board. VP now moving a bit swifter. They've taken bathroom. They've got lobby. They've got flank drones positioned. Wall into A bomb site from bathroom also opened up as Pasha now heads towards the hallway. Joystick going towards the front. This is a very linear take at the moment. You've got two players from VP looking to clear out upstairs. That's Dan and Always working together, and Ambi far enough back, eliminating Always. Dan's the next one up top. Joystick falters to Rexon, and SQ have a great read on this play. Again, maybe a bit too linear. Time running out. Pasha and Shepard, last two remaining. 4 kills on the board for VP, all in the hands of Pasha. Shepard will need to break the goose egg as he almost gets the diffuser down. But as he leads his team, so does Canadian for Soniqs. And it's Canadian to get the very final pick to equalize. So Virtus.Pro never had top floor control there. They clearly made a decision halfway through that round. We're going to ignore top. We've got to hit the site directly. They found the anchor, Grixer, the only player that was actually in sight for, I think, the entire round. They did get the opening pick onto him, but without that vertical control, it's impossible to get a plant down inside of Workshop. They had a couple players up there that were contesting, but Ambi and Canadian were just too good up there on the roam. A lot of people have criticized Canadian for playing in aggressive positions out there on the roam, saying, Canadian, you're an old man, you don't belong on the roam. But it's a very obvious part of his playstyle. It's a very deliberate strategy where he wants to be able to IGL from the front lines. That way, if he does go down early, then he can IGL from the grave, which is honestly an easier time than having to focus on IGLing and your individual play at the same moment. Canadian can often get a lot of information for his teammates, help direct Ambi, let him know what he wants him to do from out there on the aggressive positions. So you can see it working really well in that round, maybe less so in round number 1, but clearly the strategy can work from the Soniqs. Great stuff from Ambi, of course, the young gunner. Still only 18 years old. He's been on this team forever, it feels like. Joined just before the 6th Invitational in 2024. but still, I believe the youngest player at this event, the youngest player with a public birth date, I'll say that. So he's been through a lot of events, but doesn't mean he's got the most experience out of anybody. Still a fantastic rookie.
We got to chat with Soniqs the other day at an unspecified restaurant nearby, and they were in good spirits. And I mean, this whole team has had a new identity since Troy came onto the roster, but as much of a focus as Canadian has received, I feel like a lot of people kind of downplay the fact that Super is their coach now as well. Considered by many in North America and those across the world to be one of the sharpest minds for the game. He had taken a step back as an active player to move to general manager and is now coaching the team after Goddess announced her retirement. So, for Soniqs, you get a nice 1-2 punch of leadership. Obviously, leadership is not going to win you a matchup on its own, but it's certainly going to give you a leg up.
The bomb site this round, Parker, is custom supply. We've seen them feeling more and more popular inside of North America. The problem is, I think Bathroom is just so cheesable right now, so it can be very awkward to hold sometimes with the shield meta that we're currently in. Glass being quite strong at the moment. Still will entitle a top floor clear. Doesn't go very well.
Joystick dies again. He's yet to find a kill, so he's had very minimal impact so far on this matchup. Pasha bursting in to take down Ambi, taking damage in the process, but ultimately succeeding in his goal. Now it's Dan looking for a kill onto the mirror of Canadian, not far removed from the position in Fountain. Rexon watching that black mirror that you talked about being so powerful, so pivotal underneath 90. He's got a nice line of sight over towards break area. Canadian takes care of Dan. That was the altercation we felt brewing moments before. Canadian dropping through the hatch. 2 picks upstairs for Soniqs, and it looks like they might be retreating closer to the bomb site. Rexon doesn't get away with his life intact. He's not quite so lucky. And now Always will move over towards Arsenal. Might he find a kill here through the soft wall? Tearing away. No movement, and there's the drop from Surf with 30 seconds left.
I mean, the intel's been really good for Virtus.Pro. They've got top floor control now, but they don't have very much time at all. Canadian inside the site, Grixer as well. Surf kind of roaming over towards Bathroom. They've got the Ram ripping up these floorboards. They've got the hatch as well that they can drop to go for a defuse kit. But man, this is still going to be awkward with so little time remaining.
Pasha 5 kills, almost made it 6 there, missing out on Canadian as Grixer's Nitro Cell takes care of Always. Pasha still searching for something. Shepard reduced. Pasha does find it onto Grixer, but now Shepard needs to get Diffuser down, and Surf is retaken from above. No coverage for Shepard as Surf waiting for the drop. He does not get the all clear. Shepard will have to watch 2 separate angles, and he might expose himself to the hatch. He plays real tight to the baggage check machine. Popping up, taking care of Canadian. Shepard's clutched before. He sees the shots, knows that Surf is up there. Both of these players a single bullet away from death. Shepard sits and waits, and there's the drop. Locked out by Shepard, my goodness. Soniqs taking 2 separate and isolated engagements, and Shepard, like usual, makes it look very easy. Another round for VP. They've retaken the lead.
A 1v1 and quite a difference in experience. Surf, of course, here attending his first ever international event. Shepard, he's in double digits already with his career. The amount of tournaments he's been at, more than almost any other player. Played the 1v2 perfectly. 5 HP the whole time. Managed to still find both of those kills. Was focused on the plants. Of course, that's the role that he knows so well. One of the best support players in the game. Managed to get that plant down. I really just don't think Surf knew where the plant was going down. You saw it when he was up above while plant was being put onto the ground. That was the time to aggress. That was the time to push this guy. If you just drop the hatch, man, that's a free win right there. But he didn't know the plant was going down directly beneath him. It was a good flank from Surf, but in the end, just not quite enough to push them over the edge. That really felt like a classic Soniqs round. You know, how typical. We're on border. We're on a very frag-focused match. And what do Soniqs do? They say, no. We're going to bring Castle Mirror. We're going to completely reformat the top floor and just turn it into an absolute mess to try to clear it. Virtus.Pro got through it. It cost them a lot of bodies, and then they clutched up late in the end. Well done by them. I think it's very clear at this point, Parker, we're in for an extremely close matchup.
Yeah, obviously the side swap can make a big difference here.
Sure, for sure.
But I'm getting that same feeling. These are 2 teams that are landing consecutive blows. None of these rounds are really blowouts.
No.
Both teams finding opening picks, finding refrags pretty quickly. There haven't been a lot of struggles to get in the building for Virtus.Pro. As always, literally vaults through a window. Oh, no. Oh, no. Always, you got to win this. There you go. Surf getting caught off guard over by, again, those same baggage machines, scanners, metal detectors, whatever you want to call them. Inside of customs.
Back-to-back deaths from Surf now, too. Final death in the last round, opening death on this one. They're going to start to open into waiting. Canadians down here on the smoke, once again playing near east stairs. Since the zombie's been banned more and more, a lot of teams will be bringing smoke to hold down this part of the map instead. Bomb site's bathroom, we've gone for a full 4-site rotation now from SQ, so they clearly like all of the sites on this map. Pressure up above from Joystick, too, still trying to hunt for this, always going for a pinch inside of security, but the players dropped out at this point. They might be too late.
No, hot on the heels of Rexon. And he knew he was being watched. The drone leading the way for Virtus.Pro, but Ambi fires back through that window. Down goes Dan on vents. And Ambi now himself will drop as well. Soniqs so far through these 3 rounds that they've defended these bottom floor bomb sites, they've held the top floor for about a minute and a half and then immediately dropped. Whether they get a pick or not, if they're spotted, they try to get away, which is pretty decent timing and what you come to expect on a map like Border. Hold map control for about halfway through and then retreat to the bomb site. There's more than enough space. Always dies to a nitro cell at the hands of Grixer. An even number for both of these teams now with a minute left.
Nitros have been great so far. They know where Canadian's at. He's his first Toxic Babe now, but he doesn't seem to be getting pressure. They're rotating now straight to the bomb site where there is a window they can vault on in. They're going for their plant now.
Shepard getting Diffuser down. He was successful in the previous round, taking no damage whatsoever from the toxic gas. He will as he gets out. More damage done in the post plant to Shepard than at the time that the Diffuser was put on the ground. Pasha's got a read on the retake at top east. Canadian might have been spotted, so VP will be wise to his tricks as the smoke retakes, but he's not alone. 2 players from Soniqs up above. Old habits die hard there. Pasha and Shepard slaughtering both of them, and a jump out from Canadian works, but Shepard has the upper hand. 2 kills in the previous round in the post plant for Shepard, and he will do it again with the Sonic skin to add insult to injury. VP, 2 rounds in a row with a very successful post plant.
What a great call from Virtus.Pro in the 3v3, recognizing that, you know what, we don't need to worry about Canadian. If we just go hit site, we've got a free plant. Being able to identify that and go for it in the split seconds that it took was really all the difference. Canadian was there with the Toxic Babes, but he was too slow. If Virtus.Pro took 2, 3, 4 more seconds to decide on that play, Canadian probably would have been able to stop that plant, but because they were so fast in making that decision, identifying it and going for the play, Canadian's Toxic Babes were just too late. Canadian had a lot to do that round, obviously. Trying to hold down waiting and east for a while, then rotated back to site, but just wasn't quite there in time. As I was saying, sometimes that bomb site can be very difficult to hold down. The direct-to-site window plants can be very, very strong. It's why we see custom supply sometimes. Now Soniqs are in an interesting spot because they played all 4 bomb sites. They only won 1 of them. So they've got 2 more rounds where they can decide where they want to go. The entirety of the map is open. Means that Virtus.Pro might have to waste quite a few drones in the prep phase to figure out what the site's going to be. It is probably the most obvious pick at this point. They are going top floor. So a simple decision coming through now from Soniqs. But regardless, this is a bomb site they lost last time. They're going to have to be a little bit better if they want to not lose it again.
Talk about caster curses when it comes to players, Jesse, but might we have caster cursed Soniqs by any chance?
Perhaps. It's early. Attacker side of map, don't forget Border, but also does lean relatively 50-50, so 5-1 would still be a lot.
Obviously, look at the numbers from the regional leagues and even from the LCQs as a good guidepost as to how these maps will be played out. In a day or so, we will have, oh my, more information to go off of in regards to attacker versus defender-sided maps. That really did look like Ambi should have died there, but the upside-down repel from VP was just simply a bit too sluggish. Pasha pays for it with his life. A minute burned off of the clock. VP are empty-handed so far. They didn't even manage to do a single point of damage to Ambi as he tore through both joystick and got the kill on the Pasha.
You can tell this is the same strat from Soniqs. They haven't changed very much about it, but Ambi hitting the shot might be all the difference that they need. really nothing utility-wise to try to clear out Ambi at the moment. They don't have a Deimos, they don't have any Grim. Obviously, Grim banned out by Soniqs at this point. They do have the Lion, but if he's not moving, that's not active pings. They can't open this wall either unless they move the Habana over, so with flashes coming out, they will try one more time. It looks like Ambi's getting out.
They wanted to try to get him from over towards that break door or even the balcony window, and he was just a little bit too quick for them. He gets stuck on the door frame. That is not ideal. Finished off by Shepard, who finally gets a kill outside of a post plant. All 4 of Shepard's kills up to this point had come after he'd walked the diffuser into the bomb site. Dan dies to Canadian as he immediately pivots towards top east and throws up a gas canister, which will slow Shepard down. Always the vault in, finds a Frostmat, and Rexon will do what the rest of his gadget couldn't achieve, which is find the kill. Joystick and Shepard is the last 2 remaining. Joystick finally on the board. It only took 5 rounds.
Hunting now for it in the 2v3. Very little map control still. They've got the fuse kit, but nowhere near the site. Oh, wait a minute. Rexon goes down. Surf go for the refrag, but he's missing his shots. Doesn't quite find any of them. He's got to back off at this point. If he doesn't, he's going to be facing 1v2s, and they're very isolated on the side of Soniqs.
Really easy for Surf to forget how the gadgetry works there, but he pulls on the smart goggles, eliminates Joystick. And can Shepard pull off a clutch yet again? 3 rounds in a row? He's got the ping on it? No. His luck runs out. 3rd time is not a charm, but that's okay because he got the first and the second. SQ sought out a player like Surf because they believed he could be clutch in big moments. And boy, oh boy, has he looked good so far through stage 2 and onward, outdueling Shepard and giving Soniqs a much-needed round. VP still in control, but 1 round remains in this first half. It's possible for VP to emerge with a 4-2 scoreline, but as we said, we expect a close matchup. We've seen it so far. This could very easily break in Soniqs' favor.
Absolutely. I mean, every single round coming down to the wire. Good stuff from Surf there, of course. One of the most underrated players on all of the Soniqs. People talk a lot about Canadian coming onto this team, and rightfully so, but Surf has had a massive impact as well. He started in Tier 1 back when he was picked up by Beast Coast in 2022. Spent 2023 with Mirage and Wildcard. Then this year was briefly on LG during the offseason, but now picked up on Soniqs. And this feels like more of a permanent home for him with the success that SQ have had so far and with how he in particular has played on this team. Failed the clutch the first time in the 1v1 against Shepard, but won't fail twice. Good in that 2v2. The intel was really strong from Virtus.Pro, I think, consistently through this game. Their drones have been getting very active pings, but regardless, and that honestly might be what's prompting Grixer to jump on the Solus here in round number 6. But in any case, it does feel like in the 1v1s and the individual moments, Soniqs are showing up consistently. That they got the drone there. This has been a consistent trend from Virtus.Pro with the information.
I'm glad you pointed that out because one thing we have witnessed through a lot of the play-ins is deficiencies on opening picks and drone work from teams. Now, granted, a lot of the teams that competed in the play-ins were among the bottom tier of the teams at this event. We expect now that Phase 2 has begun, that the better teams, the more experienced teams, and the more practiced teams will be showing up. And so far, I think we've seen that. I mean, obviously, 2 play-in teams won their first matches today, but now, obviously, we're past that stage. VP have had some exceptional drone work. It will not fail them on this round as they get the opening pick onto Grixer, and the Solus that you mentioned will only find value for about 30 seconds.
Found about 5 drones, though, so that's pretty good to start. Still, I mean, with the Twitch drones, you're going to have even more than 10 to play with. So there is still lots of information inside of Virtus.Pro, and they're using it now. I love the ability to see some of these drones. We're catching all the information in real time. They know exactly where Canadian is. He's in the same spot that he's played in most of these rounds now, bottom of east, inside of waiting on the smoke. And he will get cleared out immediately. Virtus.Pro, they're learning, and they're getting better and better, but it doesn't mean they're flawless. Rexon answers back with a pick on Pasha. Still, operators favoring VP.
Yeah, if you keep trading, VP wins this round. And then VP takes the first half 4-2, which for a map that does tend to find very similar win rates on attack and defense, means that you're okay. I mean, no team is going to want to go down in the first half, but if that's the way the map plays out, so be it. Joystick heating up, all 3 of his kills occurring in the last 5 minutes of action. It's all left up to Surf yet again on the side of Soniqs as he drops towards the bomb site, holding map control for about 2 minutes, but he's got his work cut out for him with 3 players of VP still on the board, and they've just spotted him with the Twitch drone as well. They know that he's tucked in here between the bomb sites. Nitro Cell goes out. No real damage is done. Dan is nearsighted for a moment. Veered off of his position. Joystick sees the feet of Surf, and it's now a back take from Shepard, who looks for a bullet hole kill. Surf is repositioned, now looks towards the top of Metal, and might actually be able to go for the old switcheroo. If VP don't have somebody on active flank watch, this could doom their upstairs hold. There's 3 players. You better have somebody watching this position. Surf with 1 kill. Immediately, Dan is ready. Shepard successful on that defuse kit yet again, and Dan has completely fallen off. A nice game of keep away from VP as they get Surf's position, and now VP will get into their spots with the diffuser down. Surf almost gets one, but it's Shepard again in the post plant. Something we've said now 3 times over the course of this first half. The man walks in. The man plants the case. The man watches over and says, "Don't touch my case." Gets the kills, ends the round. VP 4-2 first half.
He planted 13 times in the EUL this stage, some of the most plants per rounds that we see out of any player, so obviously he knows his role extremely well. That was the fastest round that we've seen out of Virtus.Pro all half, and that's not surprising because it was round number 6. The thing about VP is they will learn how you play throughout a match of Rainbow Six Siege. Soniqs, I'm a little surprised how little they changed things up. I mean, there were obviously differences in every round. We saw even just Solus coming out in round number 6 for the first time, and sometimes we saw that mirror window inside a break room, sometimes we didn't, but we still saw a lot of similarities. Canadian often over by East on the smoke. Border is a small map. It's tough sometimes to change things up, but when Virtus.Pro are so familiar with your game plan, when they've seen you do the same thing over and over again, they're very good at adapting to it, getting better at clearing it out. Maybe in round 1, it takes them 2 minutes to clear out Canadian on East, and they eventually give it up. Round number 6, they've done it so many times. Now they're going to do it lickety-split. Surf, a good try in the 1v3. He's now 1 for 2 on clutches. I don't think actually his success was technically a clutch because he had a teammate up inside the site. So technically 0 for 2 on clutches for Surf, but it's a long tournament. He's got time to turn that stat around. Soniqs will move on to the attack. And for the first round, at least, we're not seeing any shield play come out of SQ. Perhaps in the second, but Border can sometimes be a tough map to make those shields work, especially with Monty being banned.
Unsurprising to see VP not run with a shield, but I mean, I guess on a map like this, you don't find a lot of value out of the blitz. That's okay.
Some sites will see it, and some specific pushes. You know, if we're going for a rush, if we want to jump into the site real quick, and that's very common on Border, then you will see the blitz. But if it's going to be a full clear like this seems to be from Soniqs, then that's less likely for sure.
There's 2 bomb sites where a single door or window separate you from just walking in. I mean, technically, most of these bomb sites, actually, but Armory, you're not just going to open the door and walk in 9 times out of 10, whereas with vents, you can easily vault in the window and get a plant down. And then the other bomb site on the other side of Armory, which is that archive section, you can just open that up, walk in, plant in the doorway, and that's where shields become so integral. Whether it be an Osa, whether it be a Monty, whether it be a Blitz with the shield on his back, you just need to ensure that you have some coverage down below so you don't get blown sky high by a Nitro Cell. A walk-in from Ambi. Pasha dies. Technically, it's Canadian's fire that does the job, but it was a joint effort. And now a smoke over towards Sandwich as Grixer picks up another kill for Soniqs. Canadian with diffuser tucked into the corner by half wall, but he's worried about the shotgun down below and now needs to reposition. The shotgun's still there, though, by the way, so it can still be opened up by Always at this point. Canadian successful in getting the diffuser down. Objective play for both of these teams has been a big focus. It was successful for VP, and it's working out exactly the same for Soniqs as Grixer finds 2 more kills to increase his tally to 3. Always now ascending upstairs, but the exception of Ambi, who's been down, you've got 4 very keen members of Soniqs, all searching for the final pick. And Always has given his spot away. Canadian tucked into this corner, and he does most of it himself. He wasn't a huge impact on that first kill, though he did secure it. But that smoke and the fire were enough to dislodge VP, swing in, get the diffuser down relatively quickly, and the rest of Soniqs held strong in the post plant.
4-2 half, but this game is far from over. Soniqs, obviously an incredible attacking team and a brilliant execute coming out there on the site, of course, using the smoke to get some of that entry into lockers, find that space, get the defuse kit on the ground. The Melusi below was scary. That was frightening for sure, but they managed to avoid it. Didn't quite get denied from down below. And, of course, great cutoff from Grixer as well, who's just holding the Archives window. Got a 3K on the round there. Don't forget, Grixer was dropped for a month and a half, or benched, I should say.
Okay, I won't forget that.
He was in a rough spot sometimes. Soniqs didn't think that they wanted him as part of the main roster. They very quickly changed their mind on that. He came back onto the team, replacing Geo at the start of this year, and now with their 2 new pickups as well, making their first event of the competitive season too. Haven't been to a LAN event like this since the 6 Invitational. So big upswing for Soniqs now with their current lineup. It feels like things are finally clicking. Grixer a big part of that, playing his role in these pushes, being the cutoff when he needs to be. This is a big thing with Soniqs. As Canadian have their IGL, they can really put together some excellent executes, and that's something VP are going to need to find answers for in the second half.
Exactly as we thought it would shape up to be, so it's nice to feel a little bit vindicated. Well, we watch this matchup. If you are unaware of the A stream running at the same time, as you can just hear the yells of players in the background. BDS from Europe doing battle against W7M, and no, that's not the same W7M that won a world championship. If you do not tune into any of the Brazil League's regional games, it's easy to be confused. The team that won the world championship moved over to an organization that we know in Rainbow Six. It's been around before, called Furia. A tremendously large esports organization, not just globally, but also in Brazil. They failed to qualify for this event, which is the first time they've failed to qualify for an event in years. It was Black Dragons who defeated them in the LCQ. Ambi taking out Pasha now, as the rush would seemingly come in, but a brief pause. Reason why I mentioned that about BDS and W7M is to let you know that there will be 2 matches running for most of the day. 8 matches on both streams. It will be a very long one. Ambi finding another opportunity and capitalizing off of it. 9 kills to his name. Everybody so far on Soniqs showing up statistically.
Yeah, big stuff from Ambi, of course, playing on that Deimos, one of the best operators in Rainbow Six Siege. I would argue Ambi the greatest Deimos player inside of North America. He's so consistent with this operator. Often it is the Europeans that are strongest with this op, but Ambi certainly gives challenge to that. He's on the other side of the bomb site at the moment, trying to pinch in with teammates. Canadian in for the plant now, putting it down inside a workshop. Vents.
At the halfway point, just a little bit below that. Grixer watching over top of it. He team kills as Canadian pops up. Small mistake, but the case adorned with the blood of a friendly fire. Shotgun now in hand from Shepard as he closes on in. Always could have the pinch as well, but a Deimos of Ambi is just out of reach. Grixer, who killed Canadian, will pay for it at the hands of Shepard, and Shepard has an opportunity to go for the counter disable, but not yet. Ambi dies to Always, who's peeking in a different direction. Always taking an awful lot of damage. Shepard has been downed. It's all up to Dan and Always as the last player standing is Rexon. 3 seconds. That's the point of time that you're at, and it's a little too late. Dan has hopped on it. Rexon doesn't even need to get the final kills, but he does anyway. Timer past the point of no return. A very hectic and chaotic end to that round, but it benefits Soniqs. Jesse, we've got a tie game.
That we do, Parker. 2 strong pushes from Soniqs mean that this game is very far from over. You love to see it again. Coming out of Ambi with that 2K entry really set them up nice to go for the plants. Obviously, the team kill is never good. You're never happy about a team kill, but I think it was fine given the position, right? Canadian's the planter. He's jumping in. He's planting. He's dying. It's whatever.
I'd love to think of a scenario where it is a good one.
Where it's good to team kill?
Yeah.
I would argue if you're in like a 5v1 and you've got to shoot through your teammate to get the final kill, that's a good team kill. That's a valuable team kill that you could be getting. So I think they exist, and I think that one was pretty close, right? Canadian's life, not so valuable. As long as he gets the plant down, he's pretty happy, and so Grixer dies right after, but the rest of his team, good enough on the post plant as well. This again comes down to the executes from the Soniqs, right? They're an extremely plant-focused team. Virtus.Pro are as well. Both these teams really love to put the defuse kit on the ground. VP have got to find some answers. Obviously, calling the attack timeout now. They got to think about this, talk about it amongst their squads. They need to stop these almost direct-to-site pushes. They're not quite all-in rushes. Soniqs are still taking a good amount of map control. but the focus is on the plant. So there's kind of two ways you can answer this. As a Virtus.Pro, you can make sure you're holding on to more of that map control. Maybe you're holding on to lockers longer than you did in that previous round, or you're bringing specific utility to stop the plants. I'm thinking smoke, I'm thinking C4s, stuff like that. We're going top floor for our first round after the TAC timeout. It's difficult sometimes to hold map control that can directly stop the plant, so I assume the focus is going to be more on stopping the plant more linearly. And part of that might be with Dan on the pulse. Obviously, he's bringing the shotgun on pulse as well, which is extremely rare to see these days. Probably means that he's going to be playing in an area where he only expects to be taking short-range gunfights. Might also want to be playing down below. At the moment, starting in security. Is he dropping the hatch here? This shotgun is one of the weakest in the games, I will say.
The only real thing that it's good for is, A, it can do some pretty decent caliber-based destruction below.
For sure.
And it's got a very fast fire rate.
Yeah.
Very, very quick fire rate. But it does negligible damage at long range, and even at close range. It's a far cry from the shotgun that we see on the SAS operators, which is the most popular shotgun in the game. I think you can make a very good argument for. The GIGN shotgun, which also is almost always an insta-kill. Or more recently, the ITA shotgun that every now and then we will see a soulless play. Not really often see a Jackal or a Mirror bring.
So we got a cool strategy from Soniqs. I've talked to Super about this strategy a couple of times. Really, they're going to be trying to plant under the Osa, but a lot of pressure is on the play of Ambi on the Amaru and Canadian on the Ying. If they don't get a couple of kills over towards lockers, while the attention is focused on Surf by Archives, this plant is unlikely to be very successful. That's really the key to this. You're unlikely to sneak an Osa plant at this high of a level. With C4s in the enemy team and with lots of utility, it's unlikely to be immediate plants, but if you can come in and capitalize on that distraction with Candelas and Amaru hooks, then you're going to be in a good spot.
They're already setting up, and a quick one to go. Damage is done to Rexin, but he finds a kill on to Dan. A Nitro Cell will blow Surf sky high. There goes the diffuser as well. It needs to be retrieved as Ambi eliminates Pasha. Second on to Always. Just in the blink of an eye, we have lost almost half of this server. Joystick and Shepard remain. Shepard with 10 kills to his name. Tremendously gifted player, but he's got maybe a bit more than he can chew. Crickshaw with diffuser now as there go the remaining Candelas. Very limited utility for Soniqs. They've used it all, but very successfully. Ambi, a triumphantly large round. No chance whatsoever for VP, and Soniqs have the lead.
So that's exactly what I'm talking about, right? Yes, Surf is there with the defuse kit. He's on the Osa. Really, though, he's a distraction. He immediately dies. That's not a problem.
Okay.
In most of these pushes for Soniqs, if you kill the planter in Rainbow Six Siege, that's like, okay, great. We've maybe just won the round. Not with that execute. The real win condition is going to be the Candelas flying through, the Amaru coming up, Rexin holding the crossfire. They get a ton of kills, 4 frags, before they even get close to planting that diffuser. And then it's Shepard in a 1v4. He's not going to ever have success in that situation. So really well put together by the Soniqs. It's difficult, right? Because pre-TAC timeout, I was saying Virtus.Pro, they got to find some way to stop the plant from going down. Well, then Soniqs run a strategy where if you stop the plant from going down, you still lose. That's not the win con anymore. So brilliant play by SQ. They clearly know what's going on the side of Virtus.Pro. They're preemptively countering the answers that Virtus.Pro are coming up with. Some expert play coming out, obviously Super coaching the team and giving these ideas to them when the TAC timeouts are called. Super's been around the scene for a long time. He's been the general manager of Soniqs for a while. He's been a player and the captain of Soniqs for a long time. This is actually his first ever LAN event where he will be standing behind the players and talking to them, standing behind them. Now, obviously, many times he's been in that situation as a player, so he knows what it's like. It's not going to be that new for him, but in a new role, it's going to be interesting to see the impact that he has. So far, it seems like it's been strong.
There was chatter on social media, whether it be on Reddit or on Twitter, about how a lot of teams think Soniqs are the clear favorite at this event, at least on paper. Now, you can be the favorite at an event and still fall short of those expectations, but just as we said with C9BC all the way back in Manchester, the Soniqs team does seem uniquely situated for this meta. The one thing will be, how is this deployment of the Blitz by Canadian? Can he find success? Does he take a close-range engagement with backup, or does he sprint in and ultimately die, as we saw from a number of blitzes at the play-ins?
I got a great stat last night from my favorite caster, Lynx, right before this game started off.
Hold on a second here.
What?
Your favorite caster?
When Soniqs bring a shield, their attacking win rate in Stage 2 was 67%, 2/3 exactly. Without a shield, their win rate dropped down to 44, meaning that the shield itself is having an impact of about 23% for the Soniqs, meaning shields are extremely good for them in this matchup. They brought shields in about half of all rounds that they played. So this is really going to be tilting the odds in their favor for this matchup. Obviously, Canadian jumping in the window, and he's in.
He's taking a bit of damage, but he'll chase them away over towards bathroom, and an ill-advised engagement against Dan, who wins the duel and now looks towards that B-bomb site. Long range. The gamble that was taken by Soniqs does not seemingly work out so early on. Diffuser also surrendered in a position where it's easy for VP to watch this. Hard-pressed to imagine that engagement with Canadian breaking any worse for Soniqs. Logic bombs will go out to keep this VP team in their place. Rexon has a bevy of sounds around him, but where, oh where, is he going to engage from? Always with another kill for VP, traded right away by Rexon. Down goes Joystick. Ambi, 13 kills at this point. He and Rexon leading the way on the team, and they're still alive. The same can be said for VP. Pasha and Shepard sitting at the top right now. Grixer shrugging off a bunch of damage. Final 30 seconds. The diffuser needs to be picked back up. There goes the final logic bomb, Jesse.
Hunting for the final couple of kills. Work above is going to be really big. Puts Dan under some pressure. He knows that there could be some players on the hash. Sees the head. Beautiful shot to find Rexon to start this one. Grixer's recovered the defuse kit now. He's going for a plant spot as his teammate Andy's finding kills, but he does get traded. There's only 6 seconds now for Grixer as well. Has a player in his crosshairs, but he can't quite find the pick. Now with no time left, he's got to stick this defuse kit, and he will get taken down by Shepard. A close try, but not enough for the Soniqs.
Beautiful thing about Shepard is it doesn't matter if he's got the diffuser or you've got it, and he wants it. The man is a diffused kit magnet for some reason, and is always so good in the final moments of a map. If there's anybody that you want as a player in those clutch moments, anchoring down your defenses or overseeing a post-plant, you're hard-pressed to find somebody better than Shepard. The only other player that really jumps to mind, well, there's 2 actually that really jump to mind. Number 1, it's Brede.
Yep.
Who's currently playing with BDS against W7M on the other stream. The other one that jumps to mind is our good friend over on FaZe Clan.
Bit of king.
No.
What?
It's Demo's favorite player.
What?
Live.
Live?
No, not live. Oh, what's his name?
I'm not sure what you're on about, Parker.
I am pulling a blank right now.
Vidiking is the planter on FaZe.
No. I'm talking
Vidiking
anchor
plays
players.
Monty. He's a great player.
Oh my goodness, Jesse.
From Brasilia.
Jesse doesn't help me out. Jesse doesn't help me out when I'm playing.
Nope. Soniqs, they win 2/3 of the rounds with shields. They still lose 1/3 of them, and that one will fall into the latter category, Canadian. Now with the math, if he plays shields for the next 2 rounds, that means he's guaranteed to win them. That is how statistics work. Don't look it up. That means that Canadian, now that he's lost his 1 round on shields, he should win these next
Souls,
2.
by the way.
We'll be bringing it back.
How did you not know that?
I don't know.
Souls.
Vidiking plants on that team.
Yes, but he's not a planter. I was talking about if there's any player you want in a clutch that can anchor down a position.
Oh!
You didn't even listen to what I said.
I often don't, yeah.
You also called Lynx your favorite caster.
Yeah, I stand by that.
That's deeply hurtful. I'll never... You've made a powerless enemy today.
The powerless enemy?
Yes, that's the joke, Jesse.
I liked it.
I'm very glad. Maybe with more of those jokes, I can start to work my way up your caster tier list.
Well, you've only got 5 spots to climb.
I'm your 6th favorite caster?
Top floor site coming right back for Virtus.Pro. Again, an important round. The winner of this will be on match point. So it's going to be a nice one to win
my favorite
if you
round, by the
can.
way.
It is. It's the potentially penultimate round.
That is very correct.
Yep. Penultimate of regulation.
Also correct.
Joystick struggled on the entry this stage. He still is playing in an entry position on both attack and defense, but he won't be in the first fight here. It's going to be the Warden instead, who gets a free pick on a Canadian. Oh, always spotted out. They just didn't have the intel on the Soniqs. They lose another one now as Rexon falls to Joystick.
It's not when you want Soniqs to seemingly fall apart, but another round and another inadequate set of shield plays by Canadian. Whether it's just a lack of support for the rest of the team, or him biting off a bit more than he can chew, just as Shepard had done so on VP in the previous round. That is up for us to discuss post-match, and for the smarter people who watch this game to talk about it. That said, Soniqs have actually looked better without the shield here on border.
Oh, yeah.
So that number you brought up, it's backwards at this current point in time. Ambi barreling into his death over towards East Stairs. You said Joystick struggled on the entry. That is correct. Grixer dies to Dan, and now it's all up to Surf. VP have positioned themselves really well as Joystick finds yet another. VP wins the round flawlessly and will move to match point.
So I'm going to give a bit of a hot take. I don't think the shields are necessarily the problem in these pushes. The problem is what they're being paired with. Often with the shield, you want to be able to pair it with something like Grim. Not a Merlot. A Grim or a Dokkaebi or something to give you information. Because right now, Canadian's running in blind. And they're hoping that the enemy is also blind because they're tossing in Candelas. They're using Ying to try to get some of that advantage. But when it's a Warden, Warden doesn't care about Ying. That's kind of his whole thing. So Canadian sprinting into security there, didn't have the intel on where Warden was placed. It was an awkward spot, to be fair. You rarely see players just tucked up on that side of the bookshelf there. But it was the play that worked out. It was the call that managed to find success. So this will be attack timeout now that Virtus.Pro are facing match point. You see Seth in his nice-looking suit. I gotta say, he looks great today. I'm curious what his comms are going to be. Is he going to tell Canadian to jump off the blitz, stop playing the shield, or are they going to change the operators that they're bringing around the shield and instead try to bring more of the Grim or the Grim's band, but the Dokkaebi or even say like a Deimos, try to get that information.
I don't think they can bring the Grimmy's band.
Yeah, no, the Grim is going to be tough. That would be illegal. But Dokkaebi's on the board, Lion's on the board. Deimos is on the board. There's a lot of operators that can get you intel. Jackal if you're really desperate, but Jackal's less common these days.
Super does look very good.
I thought so. Canadian initially is sticking on that blitz, so I didn't think blitz was necessarily the problem, even though statistically it's been 0 for 2 so far. It seems like Seth agrees. Obviously, they will get to make the final call here once they see the site, they see the setup. They can make their choice based on what they're looking at. We've also got a new operator coming out of Virtus.Pro. The Scopos is not one that I think VP have played very much of this stage. It's an operator that can offer a lot of creative solutions. It's not an operator you see on small maps like Border very often. I don't think I've seen a Scopos on this map, at least to my memory.
There's been a lot of Rainbow Six, so it's entirely possible that a Scopos did emerge at some point on Border, but I think the general point is correct. It seems like an operator that doesn't have a niche on this map. The way that you see so many teams use this operator is either Colossus or Talos, the names of the two robots, are put on different floors at completely different parts of the map. And they're done so in hopes that, number one, you're hoping that your opponents don't drone the entire map out. If they do, they're usually going to need to deal with the inactive drone, because if you don't take care of it, number one, it's going to give you intel from its position, but number two, you can pull it up and use it for a successful flank. Depending on the way the numbers break, Scopos can go from being a good operator to a very scary operator. Canadian takes care of Shepard. That's top frag on VP. And for the first time on a shield, we're actually seeing some pretty good value from Canadian. He almost loses his life, though, to the Nitro Cell. 9 points of HP remaining, as always gets very aggressive. There's an E1D that goes off, and it shakes the Warden from his position. He does not gamble his life. There's no certainty as to how low Canadian is. VP doesn't know that he's on a point of HP, so it's better to fall off than to gamble on a blitz that could potentially kill you in that engagement.
Pasha in a scary situation. He's going to leave it, actually. It was scary for the enemy, but he obviously is playing up above there with Canadian on so little HP. Makes it very distracting. They've got some cutoffs for him now, and he will fall. Good push from Rexon to walk in and find that pick. He's downstairs inside of customs. Might have been a vert pick, too. Still Joysticks up above. Watch out. Finds Surf now, and Rexon answers back onto Always. Okay.
Joystick and Dan, last two remaining. Down goes Dan. The Scopos seemingly does not work out, Jesse, and now Joystick needs to watch over top. He sees the Lion of Grixer so long. He saw for a fleeting second the blitz as well, and now a Hail Mary as he drops on into lobby. The blitz is tucked away in the corner, but the moment the Joystick vaults on over, somebody will be watching. Ambient positioned, closing in on lobby, moving out of workshop and finding that final pick. And of course, we need overtime to settle this affair.
our first overtime of the Swiss phase.
That is true.
Unless the A-Stream has had one while we've been casting.
Well, we didn't have one in the DZ Falcons game,
No.
and I don't know what the score line is of BDSW7M.
I'm going to say this is the first overtime, and if I'm wrong, then that's just me spreading misinformation. We're going to stick with the blitz once again for the fourth round in the row if these operators do stick with it. Again, Soniqs, they didn't decide to change that out of the tactical timeout, but they did make it work better. They walked in with information, and Canadian was able to get that opening pick on an isolated player. It's almost very similar to the way that we saw the first couple of pushes from Scars in our first game of the day up against Chiefs, where they were using those shields to punish isolated players out on the early game. Scars got punished when Chiefs played a little bit more isolated, played a little bit more together, I should say, and made it harder to find one-off picks. But on Border, that's a little bit more awkward to do than on Chalet, which was our first BO1 of the day. So can Virtus.Pro make the same adjustment? Can they rein their players in a little bit and try to play more together so that the Canadian doesn't have these options for isolated one-off frags? That'll be the challenge here as we head into OT. Overtime is only 3 rounds, Parker. Soniqs will get to attack twice. Virtus.Pro get to defend twice, assuming that we need all 15. Otherwise, it's first to 8.
Attacker sided right now.
Yep.
4-2-4-2. But a strange phenomenon that tends to occur, and we actually witnessed it in one of our matchups in the play-ins, is that you can go from, of the 12 rounds, 11 of them breaking for the defenders, and then OT goes in favor of attackers. Why? I honestly couldn't tell you. I think there's something to be said about maybe the side swap and teams getting comfortable in certain positions. Maybe in OT, they get a bit more creative and will take more chances. I'm not sure. I mean, you'd have to talk to teams. I don't even know if there is a real answer there. It could just all be speculation.
Yeah, I think some of it's mental. I also think oftentimes OT tends to lean a little bit more defender-sided because all bomb sites unlock, at least for the first couple of rounds. So that is one thing that does typically help the defense, but this one feels pretty 50-50 regardless. They're into office already. Top East control. Virtus.Pro are not holding on to much of the map. I think that's because they're worried about having isolated players that will get run down by a blitz. This is that adjustment that I was talking about, but it's instead now given a lot of control for free over to the Soniqs. So the real question is, what can the North Americans do with all this extra space that they maybe weren't getting in previous rounds?
Explosion goes off upstairs. You look at the bottom portion of your screen, and there's still 2 nitro cells remaining, as Always and Shepard can easily stop the shield or even stop the plant, depending on how those explosives are tossed. Canadian thought he found an opening. He inched his way into the bomb site very, very slowly, and Pasha takes care of him. 3 of the 4 rounds we've seen Canadian on this blitz. The blitz has either been left on his own or has just simply provided very limited value immediately. It puts Soniqs in a bit of a rough spot. You need to have more value from your shields with how strong they are currently in the meta. Final minute. An answer back from Soniqs will tie things in a 4v4.
All right, 50 seconds now. With Surf making that opening, we've got another player in Fountain hunting for, but Shepard answers back instead. Rexon will fall for that. Player into smoke, and it doesn't matter with that headshot. He hits another one, Shepard! He's got 3, looking for 4. Shotgun's ready, but Surf fighting other players instead, and Always will take it away from him. Virtus.Pro dominance in our first round of defense.
That very easily could have been a 4K by Shepard as well, Jesse, if it wasn't for Always playing that rotate by 90, looking from one part of the map to almost the complete opposite side of it. VP, stalwart defense, walking that shield in and then letting him die will cost Soniqs. And I think there's a question that does need to be asked because, as we said, that one round in particular where Canadian tried to take the engagement downstairs, in bathroom, into workshop, that was just a poor fight to take.
Yeah.
He thought he had a read on the castle. He did not. He lost the engagement, but you coin flip at that point. Shields are very tough to deal with when they're walking at you, but when they ADS, they become a much bigger target than I think a lot of people expect. I'm not sure. I'm not strong enough in terms of game knowledge based on my position as a play-by-play caster to identify what Soniqs are doing wrong with Canadians' early engagements. Because, as you pointed out, the statistics suggest that with the shield, Soniqs are a superior team. And yet, I would argue that Soniqs did better on their attacks without the shield so far here on Border. Maybe it's the map, maybe it's just a bad day, or maybe the shield is not working. Soniqs have to win this round for us to see them tackle attack once more. If they fail here, VP takes the matchup 8-6.
It really is an interesting question, but they won't get much time to ponder on it as they need to switch focus, move into defense mode. They've gone top floor, which is a bomb site that I believe they did win once, playing it twice. Twitch Drone's getting a lot of good value from Joystick. I believe he shocked out a mute jammer and a default cam there, so they're getting a good bit of information here to help them out, as well as denying that utility to the Soniqs. You've once again got Rexon, who's playing inside of security. Previously, it was Ambi in break as well. He's still there too. So this extension coming out from the Soniqs is much the same. Canadian down inside of waiting. We've seen this time and time again. Towards the end of the first half, Virtus.Pro got very good at clearing these players out of their current positions. They've not changed anything on the side of Soniqs, so clearly they think that all it really comes down to is using their util well, hitting their shots, and they can repel this Virtus.Pro attack. No drastic changes being made. Look at this information, though. This could be an easy Vert pick.
It's just so close. Both of these players positioned where it could cut either way. Ambi and Shepard both leading the way on their teams with 15 kills. Losing Ambi early in this round would be a debilitating blow for Soniqs. Ambi finds his man. Always drops. Immediately traded back by Pasha, though. You can make the argument that this benefits VP at the current moment.
Yeah, Toxic Babes, Canadian wants to get another trade back. He will force the player out of Passport, but Pasha won't take any more than 45 damage, down to 80 now. Still hunting in through the top floor, too. They're inside a bathroom. This could be a little bit awkward for Canadian, who is still just playing at the bottom of the East. He seems to be aware he's on red pings, too. The droning from Virtus.Pro continues to be extremely good. Canadian in a really awkward spot. And Toxic Babes, too. He knows he's being pinned down, but he doesn't know from where. He doesn't. Dan will get the man advantage from Virtus.Pro. Only 3 players now stand between them and going 1-0 up in our Swiss phase here in the Montreal Major. Surf, Rexon, and Grixer, a lot to do with 45 seconds on the clock.
Handling the drone from above, so that's less information for VP as the cut and thrust will be upon us any moment. Right now the lineup over on the eastern portion of this map. Just wait it out at the time being. VP obviously need to be worried about time. Joystick finds Rexon, only 2 for Soniqs remain, and a hell of a task ahead of them against a very angry and well-oiled Russian machine at this point. Grixer and Surf both with 10 deaths apiece. They will add up to 11. Surf holding court, dropping all these players, but Pasha comes to the rescue at the last second. The only player still with a pulse on the side of VP, and there's just too many bodies for SQ to cut through. Virtus.Pro ekes out a victory over Soniqs.
Down to the wire again, just like the first half. Surf finds himself in the clutch situation. He comes so close, yet so far. 8-6 will be your final score favoring the Europeans. This is going to be 1-0 for the